Good morning, everyone. Oh, we could do better than that. Good morning. Good morning. There we go. Thank you so much for that. I'm Mary Claire Olson-Potter, president of the Hudson Chamber, and we are so excited. This is our 5th International Women's Day Good Morning Hudson program. And so a round of applause for all of you being here today. But we are so excited to hear from a fabulous panel of speakers and hear about their journeys. And then we will take questions. We have a set questions that we'll ask the panelists, but we'll also take questions from the audience as time allows. So again, I hope that you did put your name in the drawing. I want to thank the Bee's Knees for donating a fabulous basket, and in that basket is a chamber check for $25 for you to go shop and eat. So we're excited for someone to win that. So International Women's Day is generally celebrated on March 8th. We chose not to do it tomorrow, so we chose to do it today instead. But it's really been observed since the 1900s. The first International Women's Day was held in 1911. And I think you'll see there are just more and more events and activities around this celebration. And like I said, we're going to hear from some phenomenal local leaders here right in western Wisconsin, celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. So I think this year more than ever, in some ways, it's really important that we celebrate women leaders in our community and all that you do to make this so such a fabulous community. So I want to recognize the sponsor of today's program and invite Nathan to come forward with Hudson Physicians to say a few words about Hudson Physicians. Or are you doing it from back there? You want me to go up there? Come on down. Let's all welcome Nathan. One of the 3 males in the room today. And I'm going to give this for you because it's on cable.
I got you. Appreciate it. Well, yeah, thank you to Mary Claire, the Hudson Chamber, and all of you, and especially you 4 up there at the front. I think just having the program here last year was quite a hit, so we're happy to see you all again. I will say that we have every table and chair in our administration office in here. So if we keep growing and keep building it, we might need to see if we have another conference room a little bigger than this. But you guys are in for a treat. I know you've got some brilliant individuals that you'll be hearing from today, so we're happy to have all of them in front of us, but appreciate you again making it, and feel free to stay in after with questions, as Mary Claire said, if you have. So thanks again.
Thank you, Nathan. And thank you to Hudson Physicians for hosting us today. You, too, could be a sponsor of an upcoming Hudson program. So please see me after and let me know how you want to best promote your business. And I'd also like to thank Keys Cafe for catering our breakfast today. So there's a couple upcoming announcements that I want to just make that are also noted on your agenda. We are in March, so this is the March Lucky Clover program. So there are cards out at the table. If you haven't picked up your passport, these are free. And then we invite you to take these to the businesses that are listed here. And then you make a minimum purchase, and then you get a sticker on your card. And then you can turn in your card at the end of the month to win some fabulous prizes depending on how many stickers you have. I will tell you there's a couple freebies, right, Christine? So go to First State Bank and Trust, and you'll give them a sticker, right? And you come to the Hudson Chamber, we'll give you a sticker. I might invite you to sponsor something, but yeah. but we'll still give you a free sticker. So, but this is really fun. And March can be just a really challenging time for some of the businesses, shops, and restaurants. Just it's kind of after the holidays. People are out on spring break. Somebody's going someplace warm all the time except me. But I went to Madison yesterday. Raise your hand if you went to Madison and spent 15 hours on the bus yesterday. Come on, friends. So we are now known as the West Coast of Wisconsin. West Coast of Wisconsin. So you might see that in our marketing materials coming up. So we're trying to remind the legislators where we are. You know, just keep going west. So we are the West Coast. On July 25th, we'll have our seminar series on cybersecurity. And then March 26th, our Let's Do Lunch will be held at Keys Cafe. So invite you to join us there. And then on Sunday, May 4th, how many of you have had a booth at our Community Expo? How many love the Hudson Community Expo? Okay, let's get some more hands up. All right, very good. So this is going to be on Sunday, May 4th. We're up at Hudson High School, which is just a beautiful space. Lots of windows, lots of lights. We have a petting zoo. We're going to have over 80 vendors. So if you're thinking about it, it's a great business to community event. It's a great business to business event. So just an opportunity. Last year we had 1,600 people walk through Hudson High School last year. So I invite you. There are sign-up forms out back, but it's just a great event. So look forward to seeing you there. All right, we are going to bounce right into our panel because we have some great questions for them. So I'm going to invite you to network and so forth after the program. And I'd like to, at this time, introduce Pam Klingfus. She's the CEO of Christian Community Homes and Services, and she joined them in 2021. She brings over 30 years of experience in senior living, care, and service areas. She is very active in the community. She's a Hudson Daybreak Rotary. She serves on the Chamber Board, just to name a few areas that she works on. But let's please give the birthday girl a warm welcome.
Thank you, Mary Claire. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. It's great to see a room full of budding leaders. It's very challenging for us to decide, with all the great leaders that we have here in the area, who we would select to be on the panel today, because I think at some point every one of you could be up here and have a story to tell. And maybe we'll just keep this going so someday we do have everybody up here. But I'm pleased to welcome these four speakers, and each of them are going to introduce themselves, and I will lead them through some questions, and we'll allow time at the end for a few questions from the audience. So I'm going to start with Val. Val Aune is the owner of the Bee's Knees. And Val, would you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Val Aune. I moved to Hudson in, I'm a horrible date person, 1999 maybe. And this is where we've raised our family. So my husband and I live in Holton. We have a daughter that's a sophomore at Iowa State, and our son is a junior here at the Hudson High School. So in the date things again. So you're gonna learn I'm more of the, touchy-feely, not the details. My husband could be right here to fill in the gaps. You'll learn that about me here. We purchased Le Rue Marché actually in 2012. And it was an already established business of 10 years, and we took it over and ran with it for another 10 years, and we sold it to Crystal. I don't think she's here this morning, and again, the date thing comes to me. I think we sold it in 2022. But midway through our ownership of Le Rue, I decided and had a crazy idea of opening a gift shop. And that's where the Bee's Knees came into fruition. So for 5 years, we balanced both of them, and I eventually had to wave the white flag and say, my family or my business, and my family won. So now we just have the Bee's Knees, and I get to love Le Rue Marché from the sidelines. So it's nice to see my baby, but not have to do anything to operate her. So she's in great hands, but that's a little about me.
Awesome. Thank you, Val. Next is Nichole Frazer. She is the owner of the Black Rooster Bistro. Nichole, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I am actually a Hudson native, so I grew up here in town. I graduated Hudson High School just the other day. So I was in St. Paul for college, so I lived on that side during college. We moved back here almost 9 years ago now, my husband and I. My husband was the chef at the St. Paul Grill for 6 years, and his dream was to own and operate a restaurant in the city that he lives in. We live here in town. Hudson has a great food scene, so that was a no-brainer. So we are almost 3 years old. We are downtown on Main Street. Thank you. That's not easy. And we also have 2 kids, and they are 14 and 16 now, so that is a big balance. I know Val feels that too, between family and your business. But we're super happy to be part of the community that we live in. You connect with your community so much more when you live and work in the community. I drove to Minnesota for years, but super happy to be here and part of the chamber and events like this in the community.
Great. Thank you, Nichole. Excuse me. Next, we have Lucy, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's a different order. Do we get the names right? We do, okay. Lucy Paulose, sorry. I'm in the wrong order here.
I'm not a doctor, I don't qualify.
Lucy, would you please introduce yourself?
Of course, I'm Lucy Paulose. I'm the owner and president of Home Electronic Systems, and we go by HES, and that's how we are. Our logo says HES, and our business has been established for 30 years, and we do provide electronic solutions to residential and commercial spaces and customers. And I can go into another 15 minutes about what we sell and what we, how we serve, but I was told don't go too long. But not done, I'm not done.
We're hoping to come back to you with 5 questions.
Okay, I have owned or purchased home electronic systems 20 years ago. But prior to that, I was in the corporate world. I'm an IT professional who worked for Fortune 100 companies for 25 years. My first job was with the Marathon Oil Company. They hired me as a software engineer and promoted me to management. And I thought, well, happily ever after. I liked the little town of Findlay, Ohio, and I liked the big company environment and the opportunities it provided. Lo and behold, my daughter got early admission to University of Minnesota, and she was going to move, and here is the helicopter mom. I moved to Minnesota and applied at various solid companies, including Xcel Energy and St. Paul Travelers, St. Paul companies at the time. And I grabbed the first opportunity I got. I was offered a job with Xcel Energy as an IT manager there, responsible for all the electric gas operations, computer systems. Different world than previous one, but challenges. And I thought, okay, I'm happy. I love my boss, my co-workers, my staff, happily ever after here. But then I had an unexpected call from St. Paul companies. They offered me an IT director position, and I said, no, I'm happy here. They said, think about it, take a few days, get back to us, and make it after you make a decision. I said, immediate response was, no, thank you, but I thought about it. Several days later, I accepted the job. And it was very challenging and complex, but I loved it. And here I'm thinking happily ever after. 10 years after that, first grandchild was born, and I didn't want him to be in the daycare. Here I am. I offered to stay home, and here is helicopter grandma. Then pretty soon I needed something more challenging intellectually, even though watching him was emotionally very satisfying. But I started my own IT business, IT company, and came across HES. Long story short, purchased it. Here I am 20 years later.
Awesome. Great story. Great story. Thank you. And then next we have Dr. Sarah McFarland. Would you please introduce yourself?
I'm Sarah McFarland. I am from a super small town in Minnesota, like 300 people. And so Hudson feels big compared to that.
What town is it?
Wood Lake, it's near Marshall, Wilmer area. So yeah. So I met Hudson Physicians in 2016. I was in medical school and kind of just fell into this community and practice, and it just felt like coming home. And so after residency, this was my husband and I's first job, and so we started here in 2019. We became owners because it's physician-owned, which is really important to us. Going through medical school, you don't know these things, and then you kind of stumble and figure it out along the way. So we became owners, I think, in 2022, and I was on the board of directors about the same time, and so that's my 2 jobs. I'm a family medicine physician, and then I'm on our board of directors. Something that I really think is important and that you guys have talked about is living in the community that you work in, and then engaging in it. I actually had never met Val, but I shop there multiple times. I always get Christmas presents at the Bee's Knees and find the best stuff. Only know Nichole because we go to their restaurant really often. So we really enjoy the Black Rooster, meeting Lucy the first time. It's just so important to live and work in your community, and so I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Yeah. All right. So the first question, and we'll start on this end and work our way that direction as well, is if you could share a pivotal moment in your career that significantly shaped your leadership style. And if you can go ahead, Val, that'd be great.
I'm ready for this. For me, because I worked corporate, I actually worked for Target corporate for many years, but always in my head. And what's kind of cool is my daughter found it in her baby book, like so many years later, that I'd actually written in there that I'd like to own my own little gift shop. So it's kind of fun to go back and look at that because we bought LaRue when I was 38 years old. So it was all new. Like I always worked for someone. So I was jumping into, you are fully in charge of this. And I remember the first day we bought LaRue, I asked my husband to be there with me because I was so nervous. And so he's there working on his computer, doing his, boring stuff. And a customer came in, bought something. I went into the back room and I bawled my eyes out. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And did I take this leap of faith? And I shouldn't have, because my family needed my income at that point. What did I do? Like I questioned myself, but after that, I put on my brave pants and brave pants. And I just had to dive into the trenches. And I think for me, that's my leadership style is I am in the trenches all the time. I haul out garbage. I clean the toilet at the store. I'm unboxing. Like when you own a small business like this, you do it all for I don't remember having a weekend off in my first couple years of owning the shop. And now still today, for me, my leadership style is finding everybody else's skills, honing in on that, and what's left over is what I do. So my husband is my finance guy. Thank goodness. He gets all of that. My Rachel, she's our manager on site, and she is good at all the things, like making sure the bills are paid on time. So she is amazing. We have a great social media person. So when I'm in the shop, I get to do the fun stuff. I get to talk to all the customers. I get to do displays. But then when I'm needed, when Rachel had her baby, I wanted to cry of sheer joy for her, but I was like, okay. And I actually remember saying to her, I am not going to message you. You are not going to hear from me. So the first week goes by, and of course it was all joy and happy. Congratulations, see the baby. And then I wasn't messaging her. I'm like, well, this isn't for real. Like, I need to be messaging her, personal things, because that's how we roll. So I didn't message her for work things. It was all checking in, how are you? But for me, that is my style. I dive into the trenches. I do everything they do, but I find what they are best at and let them run with that. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Val. Okay, Nichole, I'll repeat the question. Can you share a pivotal moment in your career that significantly shaped your leadership style?
I read these questions. They sent them out ahead of time, you guys. We got to prepare for this event. And I was like, oh, I got this. No problem. Turns out I can talk about myself a lot better than answering these questions. So I did have to prepare. I actually did. And I thought, I don't know. I think maybe I don't think of myself as a leader. So it took me a while to kind of dig in and understand that that's what I am. Because like Val, I'm also very team-oriented in my leadership style. And I think that came from my first job out of college. I have my Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree. I had a communication design degree. My first job was teaching art at a distance learning program. And I remember, I was young, right out of college, and worked there for a couple years, and suddenly my boss got a new car. And it was this shiny, fancy Jaguar. And I was like, wow, I can't even fix the transmission on my vehicle. This is unfortunate. Then he was like, oh, I didn't like it. Now he's got a BMW convertible. And I'm still struggling to pay my gas to get to work. And I just think I felt that he wasn't on my team. Obviously, he wasn't on my team. You could visually see the difference. And And I also thought, I don't think I've seen him do a lick of work. I don't even know what he does in the office all day. Certainly can't do my job, and without me, this company doesn't exist. And so I think at that moment, I realized that it was super important to be a part of the team, to do the things like Val said everybody else does, or what doesn't get done. That's left for me. You take out the trash. I'll do your dishes. I do every job in that restaurant that doesn't involve cooking food. But I'll get there. I'll get there. And I just think as a leader, to be a part of the team, and that's I think why I don't consider myself a leader. I'm just a member of the team, and so that's my style.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nichole. Okay, Lucy, can you share a pivotal moment in your career that significantly shaped your leadership style?
Well, the day I purchased the small business, jumping all of these leadership things from the big corporations to owning a small business. Everything changed. And I had to change the way I did things, the communication, your cost justifying the budget and watching the budget, empowerment. And your finance is at risk, personal finance is at risk all the time. Big companies, you are in charge of $50 million projects, and a dollar doesn't matter. In a small business, every dollar matters, and I have a hard time. I mean, they all, you see my right hand woman is right here, and she knows every dollar we are spending, I'm watching, and I'm being very careful. And so that going from that large company to the small, and communication, it's usually a lot of written communication and a large audience presentation with the big companies. Here, you got to communicate with your employees and on a day-to-day basis, and most of it is verbal. And also, defining goals, strategies, plans, timeline. You can give all that to your team in a big corporation and come back and do the reviews, and you can empower them to do it. Here, I have to feel that pulse of that business on a day-to-day basis and involved in every little aspect of the business, and that is the huge difference. But do I love it? I enjoy it. I'm passionately enjoying the business. And I was passionate about my other jobs too for 25 years.
We can hear the passion, Lucy. That's wonderful. Okay, Dr. Sarah, can you share a pivotal moment in your career that significantly shaped your leadership style?
I feel like it's really hard to find those pivotal moments, and I more feel like some things feel like kind of crystallized for me in the last few years, because when I kind of look back and think okay, I am a young female physician, and I'm 35. I went straight through undergrad, straight through medical school, graduated really young actually. My first job wasn't until I was technically 30 because doctors are in school forever. But to look and say holy cow, to find a young female in this type of position is really rare, and it's just my everyday life, which is kind of crazy. And so it feels kind of crystallizing for me. And when I reflect over pivotal moments, it's unexpected things. I kind of intentionally and accidentally started a small business when I was in medical school, and it was calligraphy of all things. And I had to do a social media presence, and getting in front of the camera all the time was super uncomfortable for me. I'm way better in one-on-one situations. That's why I do my job one-on-one. But doing having a small business for 10 years pushed me in ways and learned skills that I would not have learned being in medical school. Just these little things, or I really grew up in such a small town. I was the first person in my family to go to college. Medical school, professional spaces, they didn't feel for me, those felt so big and not spaces made for me. And so all of these collective things and experiences and just staying true to yourself and following your interests, it kind of brought all of these leadership qualities over time. That was very rambly. I hope that made sense.
Oh, that's great. And in fact, all of you already answered question number 2, so I'm going to skip to number 3. Thank you. And then this time we'll start with Nichole, if that's okay. What is your biggest challenge that you have faced as a female leader, and how did you overcome it?
Mine was when we opened the restaurant and people would come in and they would say, "Oh, you're the owner's wife." And it took me a while to figure out how to change that, how to, rather than just saying, "Yes, I am," because yes, I am, how do I reframe that for people? How do I answer that? I'm more than just the owner's wife. I'm also the owner, in fact. And none of this would happen without me. So I think that one of the challenges in that I overcame was learning how to reframe that for people, how to re-say that for people. People didn't mean it in a negative way. They weren't looking at me and saying, like, "You're nothing but the owner's wife." They just didn't have the words in their vocabulary in the right order. And so how do you put that in that order for them and say, "Yes, my husband and I own the restaurant," right? And like giving myself that ownership piece in that as well. Not just saying, "Yes, yes, I am." Saying yes.
Awesome. It actually gives me goosebumps. That's impressive. Okay, Lucy, what's the biggest challenge you have faced as a female leader, and how did you overcome that?
Well, it's not just being a female leader. Look at me. I'm female. I look different. I talk differently. Everything was different. And walking into a large company and assuming this big job several years ago, decades ago. And there were no stereotypes for me in the IT industry, in software engineering world, and then it was different for me. But how did I overcome? I never focused on that part of it. Oh, I'm a woman. All these things. I did not focus on it. But I'm not saying it was a cakewalk. It was very, very hard, challenging, different, and you just have to think the glass is half empty or half full. For me, it was always half full. And how do I overcome all these other challenges? Without focusing on all the negative and playing the victim card, I never did that. I focused on education and continue learning, and knowledge is power. So you got to know your subject matter really well. So continued education. I went even for an MBA because I need in management. You got to read the finances and interpret it and analyze it. So continuous education, educate yourself, and then have that will give you confidence. Then there was no stereotypes in the IT industry for me, in the construction industry now, or in the electronics business owning that, there were no stereotypes. But having that confidence is the biggest thing for me. And also and hard work. A lot of hours. I always worked much longer and harder than everyone around me. And so you just have to focus on it, and then you have to have a vision and a focus, and your goal should be in front of you, not like, "Oh, how is everybody treating me?" That's not the goal there. So.
Wise words, Lucy. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Sarah, the biggest challenge that you faced as a female leader, and how did you overcome that?
I think the thing that actually it surprised me that this happened was when you are when you're a direct female leader, people don't take directness as like a positive thing. We think of it as like being so as women, we come to the table having thought through. Everybody's prepared this morning. People have notes. We come to things prepared, because we want to be thoughtful and kind and clear and direct. And just the fact that we're women means that that's not always met as a positive thing. And how do you navigate that? I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, because you're like, but direct is good, So what I found that works for me, or when I've been challenged with that, is your relationships are so important with the people that you're in the room with, and understanding people knowing you kind of understanding their motivations, learning how to communicate in a direct way, but that's still very kind. And I'm still figuring that out.
And you know what? That goes back to Lucy's continuous learning, right? You're always learning. We're always refining. So thank you for sharing that. Val, final person to answer the question, biggest challenge you faced as a female leader, and how did you overcome it?
And I am everything Sarah had down is what I have organized on my sheet. my husband often says, he's a corporate guy, and he often says, you would either be fired in your first week or leading the company in the first week. So, and I know he means that with sheer kindness, but I am pretty direct, and hopefully surround that with kindness. And I feel like with my team, they never guess how I'm feeling, and I think that's okay. I mean, it's not like I'm ever coming in being like, what happened? Who put this there? So I think that is the beauty of me, but also maybe can be what's not perceived as well. So I was just telling some of the ladies up here that my husband is uber kind and oozes it, but manages 10 people. And I overheard one of his calls on the snow day, and he'd been talking about someone that has been like disconnected and not really engaged in the meetings. And I heard it like because he was home. I said after the meeting, I said, pull out your computer, you're sending him a message right now when you're feeling all of these feels. And we organized it and, you know, said some things he maybe didn't want to say, but using the words, you know, this has, you know, this needs to change, this is unacceptable, and how can I help you? And he sent it, and I swear he wanted to cry sending it. And he got a response back in 10 minutes, and the guy apologized and said, I look forward to our conversation tomorrow because I do need some help. So, you know, challenge can also be your strong suit too. So I ditto everything Sarah said.
That's wonderful, and being able to have a colleague or a business partner or a spouse that you can bounce those things off of and help each other out are so important, very much so. Okay, question number 4, how can women in business leverage their unique perspectives to drive innovation and positive change? And Lucy, I'm going to start with you this time.
Leverage the unique perspectives. I think as women, this is my opinion, but also my experience, women have unique perspectives, and their emotional IQ is usually higher. No offense to any men here, but I'm very careful. So and there are exceptions, right? There you go. There you go. But I carefully chose my words, emotional intelligence. And that's how we are wired. We are, you know, we feel it. And when our employee is going through trouble, we want to know about it, and we want to understand, we want to help, and we want to help too much sometimes. But that emotional IQ is there. But then that's one thing. And the other thing is be collaborative and listen to other people's perspective and be collaborative on it. And the other thing is demonstrate leadership. Demonstrate it. There are a lot of speakers, a lot of videos out there, and you can listen to all that, but how can we demonstrate that leadership? And also mentoring others and accept mentorship.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I often read about, and I'm kind of a crazy leadership student as well, women are very good at establishing relationships. And being relational is a key factor in leadership. So I think you've said that quite well. Super. Okay, Dr. Sarah, how can women in business leverage their unique perspectives to drive innovation and positive change?
I think I'm going to piggyback off of what Lucy said a little bit, but kind of like I have a little different perspective of the emotional intelligence piece. I think emotional intelligence doesn't necessarily come naturally to all of us just because we're women. I think that we from a very young age, have to learn to navigate spaces that weren't created for us. And so we pay attention to everything, and we develop this emotional IQ, whether it's in relationships with our families, our siblings, our parents, our spouses, our kids, and then our workplaces too. Like that emotional intelligence, I think comes from having to navigate this world in spaces that weren't necessarily created for us. And so I think our ability to really bring that unique perspective, and really some of the best solutions are from challenging the question, like, well, why do we do it this way? We've always done it this way. And maybe we question that and say, well, why have we always done it this way? Because this was a space that maybe wasn't created for all of us. And then asking that question can kind of spur some of those solutions. So,
Wow. inspiring. That's great. I love that, the space that wasn't necessarily created for us. That's great. Okay, Patty, how can women in business leverage their unique perspectives to drive innovation and positive change?
I kind of going back to what these ladies said is I think that we do have this gift of being able to bring people together and to focus on that. I think for us, as a woman, I think we are awesome multitaskers. I would say a majority of us are, and I just think that's what we have to be able to focus on, that I can have my child over here that needs this, but someone from the shop needs this, and yes, I can do all of this. At some point, it's raising the white flag to say too much is too much, but I do think, for us, like, hone in on that. Like, we do have those skills to multitask. We do, and I love the mentorship too. I think that's great. Like, people reaching out to me saying, can you help me in my shop? I don't display like you display. Heck yes. What time do you need me? I'll be there. So I think it's that too, that, we're able to empower and not be afraid to ask for the help, but also be ready to give it too.
Sounds great. Thank you, Val. And Nichole. Do you want me to read the question? No, that's okay.
They already answered it. Just like these ladies leaders, emotional intelligence, I think what we have to offer as female leaders is looking at people as people. They're not numbers, they're not customers. You're developing those relationships. Super important in my business is to cultivate those relationships with guests and looking at every person as an opportunity to cultivate those relationships and not looking at people as just numbers, which I think is one of those spaces not made for us. We don't work like that, and we should embrace that and excel in that and look at people as people.
That's awesome. Very good. Okay, I have one last question, but I'm going to wait and come back to that, and I want to go to the audience for questions. And does anybody have something? Yes?
Well, I don't have a question, I have a proposal. If you don't know me, my name is Cindy Ross, I'm the owner of Rooster Care.
You know what? Since I have to repeat it, I'm just going to give you this.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cindy Ross. Is this working? Yeah, okay. I am wondering, we've got an amazing opportunity right here with all the women. I am part of a performance group through Bright Star Care, and I have a lot of women in my performance group that are business owners. And one of the things in this journey of going through business ownership is that it's extremely different being a female leader than it is for men. And I'm wondering if there's any interest here in the group to put together a subgroup where we can help and support each other, because personally, I own my own business. I don't want to take my problems and bring it home to my husband. I want to share it with other people. And I think it would be an amazing opportunity to strengthen our economic presence and what have you. We all have a lot of different gifts and supports. For example, I know how to do finances, I know how to do, run business and what have you, but everybody else has unique gifts, like the IT, for example, with Lucy. So I'm just wondering, is there an interest to start a subgroup where we could put together a performance group of women where we can support each other, not just meet once a year?
I see a lot of heads nodding. Yeah, great, thank you. Yes?
Hi, I'm Christy Smith from St. Croix Valley Habitat for Humanity. And Val, you mentioned something really quickly in that last thing that you said, and I wanted to ask you if you could expand on it a little bit. You said also you have to ask for help. I mean, I think all of us in this room can say there's been a lot of times in our world where, like, how do you do that? So I would ask you that.
Right. I think that comes down to being involved. So we have our retail and restaurant committee that meets once a month. So, I know with what you had just mentioned, maybe a deeper dive with all kinds of businesses, but I feel like when we go to this monthly meeting, that's where things come up, and that's where we can bounce things off. And Shayla organized text messages, what do you call it? A chat group. There you go. And I can't tell you how helpful that is, because it could be something as simple as, does anyone have tissue paper I can borrow? I ran out. So it's simple like that. So I feel like it's just finding, kind of goes back to my whole thing, like finding your group and just really relying on it. And the gal who asked for me to help display in her store, it happened at those meetings. Like, can you please come over and help me with that? Yes. So I think it is finding the group, and like she was mentioning, creating that. So it's taking time and making space. And, you know, there's times where you're like, oh, another meeting. Oh, no, I cannot do all of this. But when you get there, that's when the good happens. That's when your connections are being made. That's when, I don't know. So I think it goes back to being a mentor yourself, and then, you know, not being afraid to ask someone else for help. So I think my short answer is go to those meetings. I know there's another one that I've been trying to go to. What's the one up on the hill? The Connections and Coffee. I hear rave reviews about that. Haven't gotten myself there, but that'll be a goal to get there. But I think that could be great.
Yeah, Mary Claire and I have been talking through the chamber about creating a roundtable for health and wellness. So we feel you. It's telepathic. Yes, we'd like to get together and have leaders be able to get together and connect, you know, on a same level. And I will share, having worked 30 years in the Twin Cities Metro, what these ladies have said, and this vibe of helping each other doesn't happen in the communities in the metro like they do here. It's the fabric of Hudson is absolutely amazing. I've been in this community just shy of 4 years, and I recognize almost every face in here because you see the same people, you cross the same paths, and we all have one thing in mind, and that is to do well in our community, whether it's personal or business-wise. And so I'll even share a quick story. We're having some challenges with one of our areas and how we deliver food, and I called Nichole, and I'm like, hey, would you come and have dinner with me and sit and watch how we do this and give me some ideas on how we could do this differently? Because I'm not a food service person. I'm an administrator. So, I mean, who would have ever thought in my 30 years in the Twin Cities, I could have never called a restaurant owner and asked him to come and help me. We haven't done it yet, but we're going to. So, yeah. Yes. And by the way, I also emailed Amy from the Post, and both of them didn't even hesitate. They're like, yep, when do you want me there? I'm like, oh my gosh. So again, I have goosebumps. Who else has a question? Yes, I'm coming on over. Hope your coat's on the floor.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah. So, okay. So, first of all, what you have all said is really amazing. And I'm sure I speak for everybody here. We really want to thank you for coming forward and being able to share what I'm sure at times is somewhat of a difficult sort of emptying. So in my other life, I spent an awful lot of work on leadership. It was in the context of education. First of all, it was so interesting to me that when you were asked about a pivotal moment, Nichole and Val, you immediately moved into how you felt as a leader in your workspace. And Lucy and Dr. McFarland kind of followed, but I suspect that you perhaps picked up on that. I'd like you to say some more about that, because leadership style is really important. And I wrote down some words that I heard you say. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, how I would describe it. But I'd like you to say some more about that, because it's just critical, really, the way we present ourselves in our work situations.
That's awesome, Judy, that you even picked up on that. So based on what she said, do you want to talk again about what you felt?
I think you identified the meat of it, actually, because I don't think that you would expect that pivotal, that's the most important part, but it's what you do with that feeling and how you navigate through it and who your people are and who you go to be able to navigate that feeling of that challenge is so important. And having other female physician mentors, like they're hard to find. Like they're hard people to find, and I've been lucky to find some. And like those are usually my sounding boards and like how to navigate those feelings. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're yucky. And having somebody from a non-judgmental standpoint can like listen to you and help you navigate that is a gift. So
Absolutely, thank you. Anybody else want to add about how you were feeling and what motivated you from that?
I think that I appreciate that that's sort of pointed out, that we kind of came from that feeling. It wasn't the event so much that changed us or influenced our leadership styles, but it was the feeling, which goes back to us being those emotional beings and how that works. And I think one of the interesting points in my restaurant ownership experience, now it's only been 3 years, but to have parents of the young kids that work for us come in and say, they just love working here. That's what I want them to feel. That's why those feelings took on that leadership style. I want people to feel like they're a part of my team. I want them to enjoy their time here with us and feel like they contribute and know that I will contribute to them as well and help them succeed. We're not succeeding by ourselves. We're not in a bubble. We all succeed because of the people that are there with us and because we empower them to succeed. Our employees, if they're succeeding, I'm succeeding.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think for me, mine was the fear, like, what did I just do? And walked into the back room and cried, and then, put on the brave pants. And I think that's what's important every day in business, too, is I don't love doing Facebook Lives, but I do it because I feel like that's the way I can connect. I'm not trying to be someone different, because you're going to see I don't say the right words, whatever it is. But I think that's what it is, like, just to continually grow. And like with my team, I often encourage them, will you be the Facebook Live person today? And they're all a little nervous, but my goal is by the end of the year is to have them all feel comfortable being able to hop on and do it. But it is, you have that fear, and it's just being brave to push through it. And my team knows we're going to fail often, but when we hit it right, it's going to feel so good to hit that. So that's just how it is at Bees. Like, yeah, we're going to do things that didn't work out, but we're also going to do things that really hit well. So not being afraid and to keep going forward. So
Awesome. Lucy, do you?
I think every feeling in the small business arena is exaggerated a little bit. If it is fear or victory or failure, and it's commonly shared among all the employees as well as the owner. And then so all of those was exaggerated, and we celebrate together. We feel bad for the other employee who is going through a tough time. And the thing is, we can even share more personal experiences in a small business, and in a larger corporations or other places, you really can't. And nobody really, you are just a number a lot of times. Here it's very personal, you're part of them. And the empathy is there also.
Yeah, that's awesome. As I was listening, I think a little bit of when we have these feelings, it inspires us to act. So each of you had a feeling that inspired you to go forward, do something, and you didn't stuff that feeling, you didn't ignore that feeling, you didn't, put it aside. And I think maybe that's an advantage that more relational, more sensitive human beings have over those who maybe just push it aside. But that was a great question, Judy. We have another question back here. We want to get it on the camera or on the recording.
Thank you. So I am lucky enough to know most of the ladies up at that table, and I know how great that you are and how you're more of a catalyst than a mentor, I would say, because anyone that comes to you, I know that you have great resources and suggestions. So my question is more for the ladies in this room that could use some help. And I would say, is there a time that you had a challenge, or that you know, whether it's work-life balance or that you were having a difficult time with an employee, and kind of the resources that you used to overcome that challenge?
So the question is, what were the resources?
Yep, like how did you overcome that challenge?
Okay. Dr. Sarah, do you want to go first, or we'll go left to right?
Yeah. What that question brings to mind for me is some of the comments about asking for help and how we ask for help. And I'm actually really terrible at asking other people for help. I think internally I'm like, but I can learn that and learn how to fix it myself, kind of thing. And so I find the value in asking other people for help, and I'm going to continue to challenge myself on that. But what I will say is sometimes there isn't someone coming to save you. Not that we need to, but there's like asking for help. I've asked for help and people have been like, I can't help you, which is really hard. And so then what I found is like, I kind of challenge, well, how am I doing this right now that I'm needing help? And what do I need to change? Do I let go of something, say no to something? Like in my day-to-day, I love being busy. I love seeing a lot of patients, but like I had to like shift a bit and see just 1 or 2 patients less just to create better space and work-life balance. So like sometimes it's just shifting how we're looking at the problem to like create more space in our life.
That's great. Lucy?
Yeah, asking for help, I have asked other experts to help me consistently, continuously, but the biggest situation was after purchasing HES. 3 years later, the global recession hit, and the whole global economy was crumbling down, and housing market basically collapsed. Construction industry was on life support. I mean, it scared the daylight out of me. I have this business. How are we going to survive? So I asked, men or women. There were some very successful men in construction industry, and I sought out them for help, and I got great advice from them, and so several of them helped me through that. Through that time period, 5 years, and then we had COVID too here hit. So always ask for help.
Great, thank you. Nichole?
I think that when I look back at one of those times when I was really struggling, and I think one of the things that really helped me, or that could help others, is to reframe failure. Well, I had a brilliant dream. This was going to be a huge success. We were going to open the doors and there was going to be people in there all of the time. We were going to always be busy like that. In your head, that's your ideal, and it's not reality. And I think that we have to reframe what that means to fail. What's the worst thing that could happen? You could fail, but you tried. You didn't give up. And failure looks like different things for different people. It felt like a failure to not be busy all the time, to not have people in there all the time. And so you look at the small things. Paying myself, I'm paying my bills, I got money in my checkbook. You guys, that's a win. That's a win.
Good, thank you. Patty? Val, I'm sorry. What? Where did Patty come from? So she did tell you it was my birthday today. It's a senior moment.
So she's had a few cocktails to kick off the day. I think going back to kind of the, where do you go for your resources? For me, something that really sticks out, obviously I'm going to go back to my team, because it is, we often meet and we gather, and I always say, what do you think we should do? What I want your opinions on the big stuff for our business too. But the other thing that stands out to me is, being in business for this long, we personally were at Wells Fargo for our finances. And then when we did our small business loan, of course, where did we go? We went to Wells Fargo. Big business, wonderful. But when COVID hit, we were like, we can manage this. We will be fine. We will navigate this. We had 6 months prior started going to Hiawatha here in town, a smaller bank, because I loved the connection I had with them, but we weren't fully transitioned over. We were starting to do things. They literally knocked on our door and said, we will help you fill out this paperwork, because Wells Fargo had already like closed they weren't there to help us small guys. And that I am like so grateful for, like a resource that I wasn't really considering, like would knock on my door and be life-changing for our business. Would we have made it through COVID? Probably, but not to be positioned as well as we were coming out of it. So that's where, like for me and like what we've talked about all day today is local. Find your local people. And, by you just saying, I know these ladies up here. Here's your first, team of, who to contact. So that's my little prop for small banks too. They love us.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's about time to roll into the last question. And this is, what advice would you give young women who aspire to leadership roles? And I think everybody's gone once, started once, so we'll go back to Val.
Yeah. Great. The word that comes to mind is adaptability. I think that is huge, going back to the multitasking, just being ready for whatever hits you in that day, and don't let the things that, kind of with what Nichole said, don't let the things that look like failure sink you. So adapting, and what am I going to do different tomorrow? What am I going to do different next week? So to me, that's a huge word for myself and also my team, because we're going to have days that there's a line at our counter, but there's a lot of days where, snowstorm day, we maybe had 10 people come into the store. What are we going to do with our day? We're going to make a display better. We're going to, do more social media that day. So to me, it's adaptability is key.
I was lucky to be brought up knowing that I could do anything I wanted. I don't think anyone ever said that to me, but I felt it. And I feel it to this day. And for my 2 kids, that's what I want them to know. Out of anything, I want them to know that they can do anything they want if they put their mind to it.
That's cool. Thank you. And Lucy?
While agreeing with both of them, and I would add to that saying, choose something you enjoy doing. You have inherent leadership skills, or you can develop it, but be passionate about what you do, or develop passion for what you do. One or the other. Somehow you have to enjoy what you're doing, and then you can demonstrate your leadership in that.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Dr. Sarah?
I think finding your voice is one of the most essential parts, and that's kind of difficult to do, but also kind of easy because it's yours, your unique voice. And one of my best piece of advice for how to do that is, like, we have various mentors in different capacities. A mentor doesn't have to be somebody you actually have a personal relationship with. It can be an author you like, or something, somebody you watch or whatever, finding mentors. And if there's something they do that resonates with you, like as I'm listening to Val, and I'm listening to Lucy, and Nichole, there are pieces of each of you that resonate with me, and I might just file that away a little bit. I might steal that from you. And then when it resonates with you, you kind of make it your own, and I think that's really how you find your voice. And it seems like kind of simple maybe, but I feel like it's taken me a long time to figure that out.
Great. Awesome. Awesome words of advice for everybody. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank you again for all that you've shared. I thank all of you for your good questions. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mary Claire.
All right. I always write so many notes at this meeting because there's so many things to take away, and I always do get teary-eyed because that's just kind of the emotion feeling part, but anyway, sorry about that. But I want to thank all of our panelists for your insight and for your thoughtfulness and for your willingness to share. Very important. And thank you to Pam for moderating. Happy birthday. Thank you, Nate, for being here from River Channel so that you will be able to watch this again and again and be inspired. So just a couple things. Gotta switch my notes here. Thank you again for all joining, and I do hope that you leave today inspired, motivated to support all women no matter where they are in their path, motivated to help all women no matter where they are or what they ask for, because it's hard to ask for help. But we want to make it so much easier for them and for all of us to be able to do that. And that I hope you've made some new connections today, maybe seen some friends you haven't seen for a while. I haven't seen two of you for at least 12 hours, so that was great to see you both. And so look forward to seeing you at upcoming events, and thank you so much for your continued involvement and support of the Hudson Area Chamber, because you allow us to do these fabulous programs and have these fabulous leaders right here in this community. So we do have some swag for International Women's Day at the table, if you'd like to take some as you leave. And then also we have the drawing for the gift basket. So Anne, if you want to bring that up, and then we'll, or pass it up, or however you want to do that, and maybe someone come around. Oh, there you go. And we will let the birthday girl pick the winning name. So shake it up well and. Okay, wait. Yep. Not fair. I gotta kind of get down in deep.
All right. Marilee Hakari? Yep.
Marilee, Christensen Creative, you are the winner of the fabulous basket. Yay! So thank you again for all joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Again, thank you to our panelists, to our sponsor, to Pam, and to Nate. And I hope you all have a great weekend. See you soon. Thank you so much.